Guys, I'm Missniecytv and I'm here to do a review for Sistas Season 10, Episode 8. The episode picks up with Krisha and Danny having a counseling session at Danny's house, and Danny basically starts off the session by saying, I lied to you, I didn't tell you the whole truth. Krisha's like, I know. Danny's like, how you know? Krisha's like, it's because of my expertise. I knew that you were lying, but I wasn't going to pressure you to tell me. Danny basically starts by saying the reason I didn't tell you the truth was because all those other incidents were playing in my head. It added on to the trauma that I was already feeling, and Krisha's like, what incident are you talking about? Danny's like, the one with my boyfriend in college and Jonah, and now this one, and it was just too much. Krisha was adamantly telling Danny that it's not her fault and she shouldn't feel responsible for this. If you tell a man no, that means no. Krisha's like, you should go to the police and report this. Danny's like, I can't do that. Krisha's like, why? Danny's like, I can't do that. Danny just keeps saying no, that she can't do it, and then she eventually comes out and saying the person that did this was a police officer. Krisha's like, just because he's a police officer, that doesn't mean he can't face consequences and be reported. And he's like, I also feel like it's my fault because I had consensual relationship with him the night before. And Krisha's like, that doesn't mean anything. Just because you had consensual relations with him the night before, if you say no today, that means no. She's like, I feel so stupid. Krisha's like, you shouldn't feel stupid. There's nothing to feel stupid about. You're not responsible for this. Danny's like, well, why do I keep picking the same man then? And I have a good man, and I just look at him like, what if it's my turn and everything's gonna fall apart again? Krisha's like, the real reason you keep picking the same man is because you have unhealed trauma. She asked Danny, did she tell her friends actually what happened, or do they just believe it's an attack? Danny's like, I didn't tell him anything and I want to keep it that way. Krisha's like, I think you should actually lean on them and tell them the truth so that they could be your support through this. Krisha's like, I think you should find somewhere else to stay. And Danny's like, he already took my dignity. He's not taking my home too. Krisha's like, I understand that, but I really think that you should move. And Danny, I'm with Krisha on this one. You should move because that house holds a lot of bad memories and lots of bad trauma. Krisha basically tells Danny that when she's done with her and during their healing journey, she's going to learn how to take her power back and learn to love herself again and everything like that. Danny really needed that therapy session with Krisha, and I'm glad that Danny's working on the path of trying to heal herself. Over in Andy's penthouse, we see Cheyenne in Andy's closet trying to pick out something to wear for a date. And Andy comes in there and she's like, what are you doing? Cheyenne is like, I'm picking out clothes for my date. Andy's like, get out my clothes and get out my closet. Cheyenne is like, well, this is what sisters are supposed to do. Cheyenne is basically like, you wouldn't know that though because you were never there. And Andy's like, yeah, because I was focused on my career. Cheyenne and Andy need to work out their issues, and as far as the resentment that Cheyenne has towards Andy, I'm still standing on the fact that Valerie is responsible for the resentment that Cheyenne has placed on Andy. Andy has some stuff that she needs to work on too outside of the relationship with Cheyenne, so Danny needs to refer Krisha to Andy and Cheyenne as well. Cheyenne is so tired of Andy that she strips down out of the dress and she leaves the room. And you know what Andy does? She hangs that dress up back in the closet. And I'm like, Andy, so you're not going to wash the dress before you hang it back up? Over at Richard's Juice Bar, we see Madison and Rich talking, and they're going over business plans. Madison is talking about all the areas that she's going to have in the gym and how the gym is going to run. She also mentions Rich's partnership with the gym and how he's going to be included and how he's going to make commission in there. Rich tells Madison that he's going to introduce Zach to her, and Madison's like, who's that? Rich is like, that's the guy that you outpaid for the gym. Rich is like, Zach and his girl are very good people and I think you would like them. Madison is like, well, there's not too many of those, are there? Rich notices that Madison has this look on her face and he's like, are you okay? Madison's like, I didn't realize that we were sitting here for this long. 2 hours and 30 minutes or something. She's like, I have to go to a meeting. Rich is like, okay, good luck at your meeting. I think that Madison and Rich going into business together will be great, but Madison also says that she doesn't mix business with pleasure. I think that Madison and Rich going into business together will be great, especially if they bring Zach along because he knows a lot about real estate and he's very passionate about fitness and health. Back over Andy's penthouse, Andy gets a call from her mom, and Andy asks her mom, how did her first treatment go? Valerie's like, I'm okay right now. It takes a few days before I get the achy feeling. Andy's like, well, Mom, I'm sorry I couldn't be there. Valerie's like, I didn't expect you to stop your life to take care of me. How are you and Cheyenne, though? Andy's like, you want a fairy tale or you want the truth? Valerie's like, oh, Lord. So Andy tells her that Cheyenne's only been there for a couple days and she's already causing it. Andy's like, we're just working out the kinks. It's just two people who haven't lived together in almost 20 years. Valerie's like, you just have to be more patient with her. Andy's like, I'll try. Valerie's like, okay, because y'all know that you two are all you have, right? Andy's like, why are you talking like you're not in the equation? Valerie's like, I don't know what the good Lord has in store for me, but you two are sisters, so y'all need to find a common ground. And I'm like, Valerie, you can't force a relationship if there's not one there. But you can see that the both of them are at the salon. Danny comes in to check on Maurice and Pam to see how everything's going, and she tells them that she's stopping by before she goes to see Sabrina. Pam lets it be known that Maurice quit his job, and he's basically telling the girls what happened. Danny and Maurice basically bonded over losing their jobs. Danny got fired from the airport, and Maurice quit his job. Start talking about the salon and how they want to decorate it. They're like, Karen decorated this very conservatively. We want our customers to have a unique experience. I can't wait to see how the salon turns out when they're done with it. Back over at Andy's penthouse, after the conversation with her mom, Andy reconsiders giving Cheyenne the dress, so she lets her have it. And Cheyenne is like, wow, I thought I couldn't wear your stuff. Andy's basically like, I reconsidered and I thought about it. Andy's like, well, I hope what you're doing tonight won't get you locked up because I won't be there. Cheyenne is like, you don't have to worry about it because I'm going out with a professional. Andy's like, I hope it's not Zach because you don't want those problems and I don't want him either. Cheyenne is like, no. He's like, he is a professional though. It's somebody at your law firm. Andy's like, who? She's like, Hayden Moss. Andy's like, you can't do that. Cheyenne is like, why? Andy's like, because if he finds out that you're my sister, he's going to use it against me. Andy basically lets Cheyenne know that Hayden's her enemy and they don't have a good relationship like that. And Cheyenne is like, well, why is he still working at the law firm? Andy's like, because the partners liked him and everything. Andy's like, he's a snake and I advise you not to do it. Cheyenne is like, well, if he's a snake, I'm the snake tamer. Then Andy's like, Cheyenne, don't do that. Then some time passes and Cheyenne has a dress and she's like, can I get some earrings to wear with the dress? Andy's like, no. Then she changes her mind and she's like, yeah, but don't get my expensive diamonds because I don't want you wearing diamonds to go out with the devil. Then Andy gets a call from Agent Watt and she's like, why are you calling my phone? Agent Watt is like, well, hello to you too. I'm calling because Mr. Benson put in a call saying that there were some threats made against you and you were lucky not to be. I want to talk about this, but we can't talk about this on the phone. Are you busy tonight? Andy's like, yeah, but we could meet in the morning. I truly wonder how this conversation's going to go, seeing that Agent Watt and Andy don't have the best history. And I also have a hope that Agent Watt's purpose isn't just to help with Andy's car situation. I hope that we hear more about Gary and his investigation. Over at the hospital, we see Danny come in and she's talking to the nurse and she's asking how Sabrina's doing. The nurse is like, she's holding her own, she's a fighter. So we see Danny go into the room and she sits down and she's crying and she's talking to Sabrina and she's like, I'm sorry for hanging up on you. I'm so angry with myself. You should be making up for Rich. I just need my sister back. And she's crying and everything. Then that's when there's a knock on the door and there's this black lady and she introduces herself as Pauline, the hospital social worker, and she's looking for Sabrina's next of kin. And Danny's like, I thought I was her next kin. The lady's like, yeah, on her bank paperwork. But as far as medical stuff goes, you can't really make those decisions for her and we need to find her next of kin. Danny's like, well, she was sent to be raised by her grandmother and her grandmother's no longer here and she's not close with the rest of her family. She does tell Danny that she can become Sabrina's medical guardian so that she could become a power of attorney and everything. Danny's like, well, I will talk to my friend. She's an attorney. And Pauline gives Danny her business card and she's like, well, if you or your friend has any questions, don't be afraid to contact me. Danny, I hope that you make a decision soon because you don't want Sabrina's care to be at the mercy of the hospital because they don't really care about her the way that you do. Or the way that the rest of your friends. Over at Zach and Fatima's, we see Fatima get a call from somebody and they're like, I got that information for you. When I was at this club called Ariola's, it's a strip club, right? There was this guy in there talking about how he just made some easy money. He said he was dealing with some cars, but nobody got hurt. So Fatima gets off the phone with him and she calls Madam, of course. And she's like, I got this situation that needs to be handled. She's like, how many guys can you get? Well, we know the person that did this is no longer going to be around anymore. So Zach comes in and she tries to play it like she was on the phone with Andy and she has to go back to work. And Zach is like, well, I guess I'll just go work out again since you're running after Andy. But Tima's like, you know what you can do? After you work out, you can go get cleaned up since we didn't finish what we started. And we need to do that. Then Zach asks Fatima, did Aiden find out that somebody broke his desk request in his office? Fatima basically tells him the story of everything that went down, and Zach is very happy by the story that he was told. And Zach also thinks that it's the best day ever because he's about to get down to business and Hayden is mad. Back over at the hospital, we see Danny in her emotions after the conversation and everything going on with Sabrina. And Maurice comes in and she's like, what are you doing here? He's like, well, I told Pam that I was going to check on Sabrina. Danny tells him how heartbreaking it was to see her like that. Now they're talking about power of attorney and everything, and then they start talking about how Sabrina was always there for him, and Maurice brings up the Alonzo situation, and Danny's like, she always felt bad for that. Maurice is like, I always told her it wasn't her fault. Then they continue to talk about Sabrina, more memories and everything, and Maurice is like, well, I've tried this new thing to wake her up. Then he tries it, and he bangs on the wall, and he's like, Sabrina, I need you to wake up now. I need you to wake up now. I know you hear me. Danny's like, well, the whole hospital could hear you. Maurice and Danny decided that they're going to go get drinks. Back over at Andy's penthouse, it's time for Reginald to pick up Andy for their date. And of course, he comes off the elevator, and he's like, you look so nice. Well, you look nice every day. Andy's like, well, you look very dapper yourself. And Reginald's like, dapper? That's new. So they leave and go on their date. Speaking of date, it's time for Cheyenne and Hayden's date as well. And we see Hayden sitting there waiting on Cheyenne, and she comes in and he's like, dang, she looks good. So of course he tells her that this man is over here fishing for compliments. Like, how do I look? Do I look good? I'm like, Hayden, you look very desperate and thirsty. Then Hayden asks the waiter to bring over some wine, and they do a toast to intimate encounters, and Cheyenne is like, well, you don't even know me. Hayden's like, well, we can change that. And Hayden, you might not want to do that after you find out that Andy's her sister. You also might not want to do that after you find out the baggage that she's coming with. But let me know what you guys think about the episode. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, turn on your bell notifications. Bye!